let's talk about January 29th, 2026, because that day might just go down as the moment the American government truly turned on itself. We're going to break down how, in just a single 24-hour window, the nation found itself under stress from three different directions all at once. It's really a story of division, diversion, and a system being pushed right to its absolute limit. And look, you don't have to take my word for how serious this is. We saw an unprecedented joint statement from all living Democratic former presidents, Clinton, Obama, and Biden. They warned that, quote, the nation's core values are under assault. That's not just typical political talk. That's a five-alarm fire signal that something truly fundamental is at risk. So how in the world did we get here? Well, this whole crisis escalated with terrifying speed. It really started on Saturday when a VA nurse named Alex Pretty was shot by federal agents in Minneapolis. By early this week, public outrage was just boiling over, not helped by the administration's response. Then, today, a video goes viral of a Minnesota mother being taken by those same agents, and that just poured gasoline on the fire. And all of this is happening with a massive deadline looming, a partial government shutdown at midnight on Friday. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack this whole mess. We'll look at the government teetering on the brink, the crazy funding standoff in Congress, the president's war on his own agencies, and a really critical intelligence mission that's been completely turned on its head. And then we'll connect all the dots to show you the bigger picture. Okay, first up, a government on the brink. This is really where the raw public anger over what these federal agents are doing smashes head-on into a hard political deadline in Washington. It's a perfect storm. And not storm? Well, its epicenter is right in Congress, which brings us to the first front of this crisis, the funding standoff. At its core, this is a legislative battle, and it's all about one department, Homeland Security. Senate Democrats are basically using that public outrage as leverage. They're refusing to fund the Department of Homeland Security without some major reforms. They're demanding an end to these so-called roving patrols. They want warrants, body cameras, and even a ban on agents wearing masks. It's a whole list aimed right at the behavior that got everyone so angry in the first place. So facing a shutdown, Republicans offered a kind of temporary truce, a 2-week funding extension, but just for Homeland Security. This stops an immediate, full shutdown, but honestly, it's a really risky move. They're just kicking the can down the road, which only gives this thing more time to fester and probably get worse. But just when it looked like they might actually have a deal, a new roadblock pops up. And it's not from party leadership. Nope, it's from a single, very powerful senator. And here it is. The roadblock's name is Senator Lindsey Graham. He is demanding that a special measure get added to this must-pass funding bill, a measure that would let senators whose records were seized, like his word, by the way, during the January 6th investigation, sue the government for $500,000. I mean, let's just be clear about this. A personal grievance is now holding up funding for the entire government. This whole thing just shows you how incredibly fragile the system is. Even if the Senate figures this out, they have to pass it before midnight on Friday. But the House is out of session until Monday, and the Republican majority over there is down to just 2 seats. There is no easy path here at all. Now, this chaos in Congress isn't happening in a vacuum. It creates a power void. And while all the lawmakers are tied up in knots, the executive branch is launching its own offense. This is the second front of the crisis, the president's war. The president seems really focused on settling old scores. I mean, today, his social media account amplified a post calling the Russia investigation a coup attempt and demanding arrest Obama now. This is a direct, absolutely unprecedented attack on a former president being broadcast from the highest office in the country. And it doesn't just stop at social media. Oh no. In what might be an even bolder move, the president is now suing the IRS, an agency that he controls, mind you, for an incredible $10 billion over some leaked tax documents. Just the size of that number is staggering. So what's this lawsuit even about? Well, those leaked documents showed that for 15 out of a 20-year span, Donald Trump paid 0 U.S. income tax. But during that same time, he paid almost $200,000 in taxes to China. As you can imagine, the reaction to a president suing his own government for his own personal gain was, well, it was swift and furious. As one user named Micah put it on Blue Sky, the President of the United States should not be allowed to personally loot the Treasury. And that quote really captures the feeling of disbelief so many people had. Okay, now for the third front in this whole crisis, an intelligence mission diverted.
This is all about taking the country's most powerful national security tools and turning them inward, not at foreign enemies, but at domestic political opponents.
You see, the Director of National Intelligence, or DNI, is supposed to coordinate all our intelligence to protect us from foreign threats. But under the current DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, that mission has been completely redefined. Her new job? Proving the 2020 election was stolen and that President Obama framed the 2016 Trump campaign. So what does that actually look like? Well, her new to-do list is to find evidence that foreign governments stole the 2020 election, uncover proof of this Russiagate conspiracy, and write reports that could be used to justify future executive orders on voting. I mean, these are all political theories, and now they're being chased down by our top intelligence officer. And the White House isn't even trying to hide this shift. The press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, said that Director Gabbard is playing a key lead role in making sure an election can never, ever be rigged again. They're framing this highly political mission as a matter of election integrity, which is something.
Okay, so we've got 3 separate seeming crises happening all at once. How do they connect? What happens when a government stops looking out and starts focusing completely inward, basically waging war on itself?
Well, let's connect the dots. It's kind of like a domino effect. It starts with public anger over federal agents. That creates a political crisis, which in turn leads to total paralysis in Congress, which gets completely stuck on this funding standoff. And that paralysis, that chaos, creates a perfect opening for the president to go after his personal and political grievances. Each crisis just fuels the next one in a vicious cycle.
And that's the big picture. You have all 3 branches of government, each bogged down in its own internal war. A legislature that's deadlocked, an executive branch that's attacking its own agencies, and an intelligence community that's been turned inward to fight old political battles.
And all of this leads to one final, really critical question. When a government's most powerful institutions are this focused on fighting each other, who is left to focus on the country? And what happens when the answer is nobody?